DICE has just released a ton of information regarding Heligoland Bight and changes they've made based on player feedback. The map needed a lot of work the last time it was present on the CTE, and it seems DICE has really been listening to the community. A few weeks back, before the new year, I posted a video on Heligoland Bight, and I felt at the time the map needed a huge amount of work before it was anywhere near ready to be released into the vanilla version of the game. Balance between boats and planes was really not in a good place. The overall boat combat lacked depth, no pun intended, and infantry gameplay was lacking simply due to the location of the map, an island out in the middle of the ocean. DICE has released new information today about how they plan to address these issues, and a big thread has been posted on the CTE Reddit page. Now, first of all, DICE is ramping up the naval warfare aspect. This is something that I really felt did need attention. They'd chosen to represent an extremely important naval battle in World War I, but they didn't have the naval combat to really do it justice. This huge expanse of water played host to just a couple of destroyers, one per team, and then torpedo boats that would just get crushed constantly by the cannons on the destroyers. They were just so powerful. You have this naval warfare map, but there wasn't much naval warfare going on, and everything just felt a little bit empty. Now, instead of DICE looking to try and tweak the current combat balance of all the different boats that were available in the last test, it appears they're just going to throw more boats into the water all over the map. Now, to start the list, a further 2 destroyer spawns will be added, allowing 4 destroyers to be active on the map at once, 2 per team. And linked to that, DICE has added more capture area to every single flag on the map to allow destroyers to capture them alongside infantry and smaller boats. You might remember in the previous build, only 2 or 3 flags could actually be captured by the destroyers as they were so large. They just couldn't get close enough to the shoreline. So DICE has extended the capture zone of every single flag so that it can now have a much bigger impact on gameplay. But that isn't the biggest addition, no. DICE is adding dreadnoughts to Heligoland Bight as well, the Behemoth dreadnoughts. 1 per team will spawn early on in the round, and that will massively increase the firepower for each team. Now, dreadnoughts, as we know, they can shell capture points all over the map and use their various cannons to target other naval craft, other aircraft and infantry all at the same time. And with their huge health pool, I mean, it takes a lot to get rid of a dreadnought, they will almost become side objectives within the game mode that you're playing. If one team loses their dreadnought early on and the other team manage to keep theirs, then they will be able to take full advantage of that and inflict massive damage on the enemy. DICE has also enabled the Behemoth spawning system on Heligoland Bight as well, so if one team is falling behind on score, then a second dreadnought will spawn for the losing team, providing they've already lost their first dreadnought. If that one is still active, a second one will not activate until it's been destroyed. With the potential to have 4 destroyers and 2 dreadnoughts active on the map at any one time, Heligoland Bight has just taken a huge upturn in the amount of naval action, and now it's really starting to feel much more like that all-out amphibious warfare map that we just know Battlefield 1 can produce. A small side note here, something I mentioned in my original video, that I'd really like to see the wave physics from Battlefield 4 introduced into Battlefield 1 to give some more cover out there on the high seas. If there are waves going up and down, that would give you soft cover in between destroyers, dreadnoughts, torpedo boats, and the like. At the moment, there's been no mention of the wave system being brought from Battlefield 4 to Battlefield 1. Potentially, it's a technological issue. It might not be possible in Battlefield 1 to get that working, but there's been no mention of it, so there might still be some issues with the naval combat, but really they should become apparent when we get to test this on the CTE later this week. Or hopefully we will. It hasn't actually been confirmed that this will be up for testing again at this point. Moving on from the naval naval combat now, and we're going to look into the skies at the aerial combat. There are some tweaks coming here too. We're going to get changes to the planes that were available in the last build that was tested, and we're going to see the addition of the C-Class Airship. But firstly, let's talk about those planes. DICE is decreasing the amount of planes that can be active on the map at any one time from 6 to 5. Now this is in response to feedback that planes were simply dominating all different types of combat, whether that be with infantry or the naval craft. We'll now have 2 planes spawning at each team's HQ, so they will get 2 each, and a third plane will spawn on a timer for whichever team holds the E flag, which is the U-boat position on the map. So this ultimately makes that flag a little bit like the desert village on Sinai Desert. It's like a pivot flag, providing a benefit to whichever team ends up holding it. And secondly, we will see the introduction of the C-Class Airship. That will be making an appearance here on Heligoland as well, as it has on the Zeebrugge map. Now this airship is smaller than the Behemoth airship, and it has 4 different seats, 1 pilot and 3 gunners. Now it moves faster than the Behemoth, but slower than a plane, and obviously it doesn't have the huge health pool that the Behemoth does either. All flags on the map are now active for air capture, so the airship will be able to play a proper part in the battle. And interestingly, the E flag, even before this update, had a big enough capture zone so that planes, if they were flying slow enough, could actually capture it by circling the flag within the capture radius. Now the airship will be able to have that ability on every single flag on Heligoland Bight. DICE is hoping that all of these aerial combat fixes should lessen the appeal of being in planes all of the time on Heligoland Bight and give a little bit more power back to the naval craft and the infantry on the ground. And speaking of the infantry, DICE has also taken steps to make sure that infantry players on Heligoland Bight have plenty of action to keep them happy and feel like they're actually influencing the overall match. In the previous build, infantry soldiers fell prey to planes who were targeting them after having destroyed all of the boats on the map, simply because there were so few, and infantry could really do very little to protect themselves as there wasn't enough cover on the shorelines. In this update, here's what's changed for the infantry. First of all, more AA cannon positions have been added to the map to give infantry sufficient firepower against the planes, and more cover has been placed around these AA cannons. More infantry combat space has been added and opened up. A new flag has been added on the infantry-friendly side of the main island, in between the lighthouse flag and the U-boat flag. DICE has also added 6 new pillbox locations along the shoreline of the main island to give infantry more cover from aerial attacks and naval attacks. Some of these pillboxes have machine guns mounted in them, so that infantry can actually retaliate as well. And lastly, 4 new boat spawns have been added to the capture points on the map, so infantry can move around all of the flags much more effectively. DICE says that these changes to infantry play will mean there will be a much clearer effect on the overall match, with soldiers being able to control the new flag, the lighthouse flag, and the bunker flag all on foot, whilst other players use vehicles to fight and capture over all the other flags that are much further away. And lastly, DICE has issued a response to players who requested more infantry-only sections to the map, like a tunnel system built into the main island, or even having a town on top of the main island as well. Here's what they said. We've had many discussions and tests in Heligoland's development looking at infantry-only spaces. At one point, we had the cliffs on the top of the island in the play space, but it only led to numerous unfun sniper positions. The result was that the no-vehicle combat spaces lessened the naval aspects of the map, or infantry were already better served on maps like the Zeebrugge raid. Essentially, it sounds like Heligoland is being reserved as a vehicle-heavy map, which is what I think it should be, although the changes to the infantry sections and the addition of another flag sound like good solutions to the infantry problem anyway. The only way we're really going to know is if DICE run another test soon on the CTE. Hopefully that will be coming up this week, although I'll confirm that by doing another video if that actually happens. And so there you are, 100% proof that DICE really does listen to the community. Heligoland will likely feel very different when it rolls around in the CTE next for a test, and as I said, that looks like it could be happening later this week, so stay tuned for some gameplay of that new update and my impressions on the changes once I've played a few rounds. Sounds good on paper, could be very different in a live server environment. But thank you very much for watching, and until next time, my name is Westie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.